Sometimes life just throws you a curveball when you're not even looking, like when my stepson, Liam, told me I should stop using my last name for him, which felt like such a weird thing to say. I just quietly did what he asked, but honestly, it made me wonder about things, and last week, seeing him smile nervously as I walked in with $1 million of control over the estate, well, that's when everything changed. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I'd love to know. It was a Tuesday evening. I remember it so clearly because Tuesdays were usually our family dinner night with David and Liam. David, my husband, always loved my roast chicken, and Liam, well, Liam mostly loved David's credit card. Let's be real. We were sitting at our big oak table, the one David inherited from his grandpa, and I was just about to ask if anyone wanted more mashed potatoes when Liam cleared his throat. He's 22, a college kid, but acts like he owns the place sometimes. Actually, he acts like he owns everything. I'd been married to David for 8 years by then, a good chunk of my life, and Liam had been a part of that, even if it was sometimes a shaky part. Mom, Liam started, and I swear, the way he said mom always felt like a placeholder, like he was just borrowing the word until he found a better one. There's something I need to talk to you about. David looked up, a little confused, chewing slowly. David was a kind man, really, but sometimes he was a bit unaware. Like a fluffy golden retriever, Always happy, never seeing the snake in the grass until it bit him. Or me. Oh, I said, trying to sound cheerful, but a little knot started to form in my stomach. Liam's serious talks were never good news. They usually involved him wanting money, or a new car, or David to bail him out of some trouble. Liam put his fork down, very deliberately. It's about my name, he said, looking at me, not David. My last name. I blinked. What about it, honey? I asked, completely lost. His last name was always David's last name, and by extension, mine. Alara Hayes, that's me. David Hayes. Liam Hayes. Simple. Well, he leaned forward, like he was about to tell me a big secret. It's just, you're Alara Hayes, and I'm Liam Hayes, but you're not my biological mom. He said it like I'd forgotten, like I was trying to fool the world into thinking I'd given birth to him. The words felt like a slap, not a hard one, but a sting. David finally piped up, Liam, what are you talking about? Alara's been your mom for years. Liam waved a hand dismissively at David, which, honestly, always got under my skin. David just let him. Dad, it's different. People at school, they see us together, they assume, that you're my real mom. He looked at me, a slight smirk playing on his lips. And I just think it's a bit misleading. Don't you think? Like you're trying to, I don't know, take over. Or something. I felt my cheeks flush. Take over? I'd spent 8 years making sure his clothes were clean, his favorite snacks were in the pantry, driving him to practices, helping him with homework when David was too busy with work. I'd gone to parent-teacher conferences when David forgot. I'd tried, really tried, to be a good stepmom. And he was telling me I was trying to take over his identity? Liam, I started, trying to keep my voice steady, but there was a tremor in it. I've used your father's last name since we got married. It's my legal name. It's our family name. I know, he said, still with that little smirk, but it's not your original family name, is it? It's my original family name. From my mom. And I just think, for clarity, you should maybe stop using it when you talk about me. Or when you introduce me. Like, this is Liam, not this is my stepson, Liam Hayes, or my son, Liam Hayes. Just Liam. He picked up his fork again, as if the conversation was over, as if he'd just asked me to pass the salt. David, bless his heart, just looked between us, his eyebrows furrowed. Son, that's a bit much, don't you think? No, Dad, it's not, Liam said, a little sharper this time. It's about respect. My mom, my real mom, he emphasized, she had this name. It's part of her legacy. And with Alara, it's just confusing. That was the moment. The air went cold. It wasn't just a simple request. It was a declaration, a drawing of lines in the sand, a stark reminder that no matter how hard I tried, I was an outsider. David's wife, yes, but not Liam's real mother, and certainly not deserving of the family name, at least not in a way that would ever connect me to Liam. It felt like being told I was a guest in my own home, someone who should know her place. I put my own fork down, the mashed potatoes suddenly tasting like ash. I looked at David, hoping for some strong defense, some sign that he saw how hurtful this was. But he just looked uncomfortable, scratching the back of his neck. "Okay," I said, my voice barely a whisper. I didn't raise it. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just said, "Okay, Liam. I understand. I quietly will do that." He looked surprised. He must have expected an argument, tears, drama. But I gave him none of it. I just pushed my plate away gently. "I think I'm just going to clear the table now." Later that night, when David tried to apologize for Liam, I stopped him. "It's fine, David," I said, but it wasn't. Something had shifted inside me. I realized then that my security, my place in this family, was always going to be conditional, always subject to Liam's whims and David's passive nature. I knew David loved me, but his love didn't always translate into standing up for me. That night, I started looking into things. Not about names, but about futures. About what family truly meant beyond a dinner table conversation. I realized that my own financial independence and understanding of David's estate, which he often spoke about vaguely, was something I needed to understand for myself, not just rely on. It felt like a small, private act of defiance, a quiet plan forming in the shadows of my mind. Wait, what? Moment for myself, realizing that I had overlooked my own standing for too long. After that dinner, things changed. Not obviously, not dramatically, but in the quiet corners of my life. I still cooked, I still cleaned, I still smiled, but there was a new resolve bubbling beneath the surface. Liam continued his life, oblivious, still calling me Mom when it suited him, but I started introducing myself differently when he was around. Alara, just Alara, or David's wife, Alara. It felt strange at first, like shedding a skin, but it was also freeing. I wasn't trying to claim something that wasn't mine, and in doing so, I felt like I was reclaiming something that was my own dignity. David, bless him, continued to be David. He never brought it up again, probably thinking I'd just forgotten or that Liam's comment was a fleeting annoyance. He was getting older, a little more tired, and his health had started to waver. Nothing major at first, just little things, forgetting appointments, getting winded easily. But those little things started to add up. I used David's work as an excuse. He was a successful investor, and his business was complex. He had always handled all the finances, all the legal documents. I never really paid much attention, trusting him completely. "David, honey, can you explain this retirement account statement to me?" I'd ask casually, holding up a letter that I barely understood. Or, "What's the difference between a trust and a will?" Just curious, for general knowledge. He'd always laugh, his gentle laugh, and say, "Don't worry your pretty little head about it, darling. I've got it all handled. Everything's set up for you and Liam." He meant it, I know he did. He genuinely believed he was protecting me. But now, after Liam's little performance, his words felt insufficient. I wanted to understand, not just be told. So, I started digging. Quietly. When David was at work or napping, I'd open his office door. I wasn't snooping, not really. I was learning. I found documents, wills, trust agreements, investment portfolios. It was a jungle of financial jargon, numbers, and legal speak. I spent hours online, looking up terms, trying to connect the dots. What was a testamentary trust? Who was the executor? What did remainder beneficiary mean? What I learned was eye-opening. David had provided for me generously. There was a substantial life insurance policy, and I was the primary beneficiary. There was also a provision for me to live in our home for as long as I wished, and a significant annuity. But the bulk of his estate, his investment properties, his primary business holdings, his personal stock portfolio, was primarily directed into a complex trust structure, with Liam as the ultimate beneficiary. And here's the kicker. The trust had a co-trustee. Someone who would manage the assets alongside Liam, ensuring they weren't squandered until Liam reached a certain age or met specific conditions. The will stated this co-trustee was David's longtime lawyer, Mr. Silas. But there was also a clause, a specific, almost hidden clause, that allowed the primary beneficiary of the residual estate, which was me, after specific bequests to Liam, to nominate a replacement co-trustee if Mr. Silas became unable or unwilling to serve. This was my wait, what moment. David had unknowingly given me a backdoor to control. Meanwhile, Liam was getting more and more, well, Liam. He'd visit more often, but it wasn't to see David and me. It was to see David. He'd ask about David's health, but quickly steer the conversation to David's future plans, his legacy. Dad, Liam would say, are you sure everything's in order? I mean, with your health, just making sure the paperwork is solid, you know. He'd give me these sidelong glances, as if I was some kind of gold digger waiting to pounce. It stung, but I kept my poker face on. I just smiled, made them tea, and listened. One day, David had a fall. Nothing serious, but it scared him, and it scared me. He was in the hospital for a few days, and it made him realize his own mortality. He called Mr. Silas, his lawyer, to review everything. I was there, sitting by his bedside, listening, but not saying much. Mr. Silas came, a stern but kind man in his late 60s, with sharp eyes. He went through everything with David, page by page. I listened, absorbing every detail, connecting it to my late-night research. And Ilara, David said, reaching for my hand, you're well taken care of, my love. Don't you worry. Mr. Silas looked at me, a brief, knowing glance, and I just smiled weakly, as if I understood nothing but was grateful. I felt a pang of guilt, pretending to be ignorant, but Liam's words still echoed in my ears. Asterisk misleading. Take over. Not your real name, asterisk no, I wasn't taking over. I was protecting myself. Then, David passed away. It was sudden, peaceful, in his sleep. My heart broke, truly. I loved him. He was my gentle giant, my sweet husband. The grief was immense, raw, and real. But even through the haze of sorrow, a part of my mind, the part that had been quietly working for months, knew that the next phase was about to begin. The phase where Liam would surely expect to take the reins. But I had a secret. A quiet understanding of the control I might be able to exercise. Mr. Silas, too, knew. This was the second act crisis. The funeral was a blur of black clothes, hushed voices, and awkward condolences. Liam was there, of course, looking appropriately solemn, but I could feel his impatience, a restless energy beneath his quiet exterior. He wasn't really grieving for David, he was waiting for the estate to be settled. I saw it in his eyes every time he looked at me, a calculating flicker. A week after the funeral, Mr. Silas called us, Liam and me, for the official reading of David's will. We sat in his plush, quiet office. The air felt thick, heavy with unspoken expectations. Liam sat stiffly, eyeing me. He was wearing an expensive suit, probably one David had bought him, looking every inch the young man ready to step into his inheritance. Mr. Silas began to read, his voice calm and steady, detailing David's final wishes. He went through the personal bequests, David's antique watch to Liam, some family heirlooms to distant cousins, a foundation donation. Then he came to the significant parts. To Ilara Hayes, my beloved wife, Mr. Silas read, I bequeath our family home, to be held in trust for her lifetime occupancy, free of all encumbrances. Additionally, a sum of $500,000 from my life insurance policy will be disbursed directly to her. Furthermore, an annuity providing an annual income for her continued comfort and security. Liam shifted, a slight frown on his face. He probably thought it was too much, but he couldn't openly protest. He just kept quiet, waiting for his part. Then came the part about the main estate, the business holdings, the investment properties. The remainder of my estate, Mr. Silas continued, shall be placed into the Hayes Family Legacy Trust. My son, Liam Hayes, is designated as the primary beneficiary of this trust, with distributions to commence upon his 30th birthday or earlier under specific hardship clauses, as determined by the trustees. Liam sat up straighter, a triumphant smirk starting to form on his face. This was it. This was what he'd been waiting for. He was the main man. The trustees of the Hayes Family Legacy Trust, Mr. Silas went on, shall initially be myself, Silas Maxwell, and my esteemed colleague, Alara Hayes. Liam's smirk vanished. His jaw dropped. What? He blurted out, a panicked edge to his voice. He looked from Mr. Silas to me, his eyes wide. I just sat there, calm as anything, my face a carefully neutral mask. This was my moment. This was the culmination of my quietly did. Mr. Silas paused, letting Liam's shock hang in the air. Yes, Liam. Your father named Alara as co-trustee. She will hold equal power and responsibility in the management and distribution of the trust's assets, alongside myself. Liam stammered, but she's not a Hayes. I mean, she uses the name, but... He trailed off, remembering his own words to me, the words that had started this whole thing. He looked at me, a flash of realization, then humiliation, coloring his face. He saw the connection, he understood the quiet revenge. Actually, Liam, Mr. Silas said, a slight, almost imperceptible tilt of his head towards me, your father's will specifies that Alara Hayes is to be a co-trustee. And further, it stipulates that should I, Silas Maxwell, be unable or unwilling to serve, the primary beneficiary of the residual estate, he looked directly at me, Alara, has the sole right to nominate a replacement co-trustee. This effectively gives Alara ultimate control over the trust's operational decisions, especially if she chooses to exercise that right. Liam finally managed control? What kind of control? Mr. Silas looked at him gravely. Liam, the Hayes Family Legacy Trust currently holds assets valued at approximately $23 million. As co-trustee, Alara will be intimately involved in every decision regarding these assets, their management, investments, and, ultimately, their distribution to you. Her co-trusteeship and potential for sole operational control effectively gives her a say in the management of your inheritance, equivalent to $1 million decision-making power. More, actually. Every major decision, every significant disbursement. Alara will have to agree to it. Or, if she replaces me, she will make the decisions. Liam looked at me again, his usual arrogant confidence completely gone, replaced by genuine fear and, yes, that nervous smile the title mentioned. He suddenly understood the true weight of David's trust in me and the unexpected power I now held. His casual dismissal of my place, my name, had led directly to this. He had wanted me to step back, to know my place, and in doing so, he had inadvertently given me the very control he resented. He had created the space for me to prepare, to understand, and to step into this role with full knowledge. I looked back at him, still calm. No smirk, no gloating. Just a steady, knowing gaze. David had trusted me, loved me enough to ensure my security and give me a vital role. Liam's attempt to erase my connection to the family name had, ironically, solidified my absolute, undeniable connection to the family's future. The humiliation he caused had now come full circle. He was no longer looking down on me. He was looking up, nervously, at the person holding the reins to his future. I am committed to fulfilling David's wishes responsibly, I said, my voice clear and firm, looking at Mr. Silas, then briefly at Liam. And I will ensure the trust is managed wisely, for the benefit of all involved. Liam just swallowed, his face pale. He knew then that I wasn't just David's wife anymore. I was Alara Hayes, trustee of the Hayes family legacy, and his future was, in a very real way, in my hands. It was the justice I never sought but quietly earned. I walked out of that office, not with a feeling of triumph over Liam, but a deep sense of peace. David had known. He had truly known. And I had honored his trust, quietly, steadily, preparing for the moment I needed to step up. It felt like everything had fallen into place, a testament to quiet strength over loud demands. It taught me that sometimes, the biggest battles are won not with a shout, but with a silent, determined plan. What an incredible journey, right? It just goes to show you that sometimes, when someone tries to shrink your space, They actually create room for you to grow into something far bigger than they ever imagined.